What if all the good that you seek, all the love, all the support, all of the thriving success were already yours and you didn't have to lift a finger to deserve it? Do you even believe that's true? Do you believe it's true that you don't have to do anything to deserve good to come to you? I had to really think about this. But when a newborn baby is in the crib, nobody leans over the crib and says, "You are going to be so great. You're going to deserve so much once you meet your sales quota." you know, the baby is worthy. The baby's worthy before it speaks, before it walks, before it does anything. The sun doesn't ask the earth if, it's done enough to deserve the warmth. The sun just shines because it's the sun, and you're the same. The radiance is built in. This is the most undeniable truth that I've been wrestling with myself, is that the newborn is worthy the moment it arrives. No proof, no performance, no productivity required. The sun doesn't earn the right to shine. It shines because it's the sun. Your worth, your value is the same. The phrase today is, I am, therefore I deserve. Now let's really dig into this for a moment. Breathe into, I am worthy. I was worthy the moment I arrived on this planet. I have nothing to prove, nothing to earn, nothing to do. So this is the arc of the Sovereign Self series that we're doing right now, is deserving without proof. And we all have stories of pushing away our good. How often, I'll tell you, I live alone. So I do a lot of stuff on my own. And when somebody's with me and starts doing the things that I normally do on my own, it's like, oh, wow, I don't know. It's like weird. I had a friend who was so hyper independent. Anybody out there hyper independent? So hyper independent because he didn't want to impose on anybody. He didn't want to be a burden. But all he really wanted was to be loved, to be accepted. And he was pushing, all these people would offer him something and he'd push them away, you know? Uh-oh, something just happened. What just happened? Okay, I'm sorry, I got a little difficulty here. So, okay, sorry, I'm back. I had a little technical difficulty. So how is that? Do you resonate with that story of wanting people to help you, wanting people to support you, but pushing everybody away when they offer because you feel uncomfortable receiving it? That's a core aspect of feeling like I have to do something to be worthy. I have to prove my worth or value. What about at work? What about how much responsibility you take on at work in order to prove your value? By right of consciousness, you deserve. What does that mean? I used to think it meant that by right of the fact that I'm breathing, that I'm alive, I deserve. What I really realize now, especially in the term in through the lens of quantum physics and the observer function, the observer effect of quantum physics, is that it's by right of the consciousness with which I observe reality. I deserve everything that I can hold in my consciousness. This is a teaching that Reverend Michael has shared, from the beginning, which is you deserve by right that you must first have in consciousness that with which you wish to experience in reality. You must first have in consciousness that which you wish to experience in reality. I deserve everything that I can hold in my awareness. And most of the time, we're walking around holding in our awareness that we have to prove ourselves to be worthy, that I have to do something in order to receive. I have to give to get. This is from our earliest days. Most of us have stepped into a culture that tells us that we have to work for it. On the surface, this sounds noble, fuels ambition, discipline, but it's like what it comes out as is I'm only as valuable as my output. And if I stop producing, I stop mattering. And this is the productivity trap, where self-worth, becomes entangled with this idea of productivity. And then, rest feels like laziness, and joy without productivity feels weird. Receiving without earning feels wrong. We start to identify more with what we do um, than who we are. And that's why so many people, and myself included, can't enjoy success when it finally arrives, because we're on to the next goal, justifying our experience. What's next? But layered underneath this, I mean, it's like Santa Claus. It comes down to, like, you be a good boy and you'll get presents, or be a good girl. Or if you're not a good girl, you're going to get coal, right? Be a good boy and you'll get dessert. Stop crying and I'll give you a hug. Get good grades and I'll be proud of you. This isn't like a conspiracy theory against us. It's part of our culture. And it's just important to realize that the subconscious takeaway is that love is earned, not given. And because love is the most essential form of goodness, we know that the same rule then applies to everything. Money, support, rest, joy have to be earned. And the truth is that this sort of conditioning distorts reality. Your worth, my worth, is not fixed. It was fixed at infinity. The moment we arrived on this planet, we were worthy. We received so much. Before we even arrived, there was air here for us to use. Before we arrived, there was food, there was medicine, everything was here. We were given it by right of consciousness. Worth isn't something that we earn, it's something that we remember. But you may be wondering, well, if I don't have to do anything to prove my worth, what do I just sit around all day, don't have to do anything? No, that's not the answer. But this means that productivity comes from a different place. When worth is attached to productivity, we produce to prove that we're lovable. And it's fueled by fear. If I don't do this, I'll lose love, I'll lose income, I'll lose status, I'll lose safety. And this is a scarcity game. And it burns hot, it runs us down, and we get burnt out, right? But when worth is anchored in our inherent value, I deserve because I am, therefore I deserve. I'm no longer creating ways to validate my existence. And here's the paradox, that it's a shift from I must achieve to be worthy, and to I'm worthy, therefore I'm giving my gifts to the world. And I want to share a little story about a river and a reservoir. So there's one river. It's fed by a tiny reservoir, and every drop it sends downstream feels like a loss. So it works really hard to replenish itself before it runs dry. This is kind of the metaphor of productivity tied to worth. There's another river that's fed by an endless stream, and it flows not to prove that it has water, but because it can't help to. It's sourced by the infinite, and it's giving fully and joyfully. That's productivity anchored in inherent value. The question isn't how do I keep producing so I don't run out, but the question is, am I tapped into the stream? If our worth is tied to our productivity, then why do we want and still need to feel to accomplish? But when I'm connected to my infinite stream, my productivity is play. It's like, I love this idea of, imagine you're one of those old gods or goddesses, Isis or Osiris or Zeus or Diana, right? And you could get anything you want. Snap your fingers, wiggle your nose, whatever, boom, you got it. Now you have everything that you could possibly want. All your needs are met. From that place, what do you want to create? From that place, what do you want to bring forth? That's being tapped into the endless spring, instead of trying to refill that reservoir so that you can continue to prove your worth. So the spiritual principle is that by right of consciousness, I deserve everything that I can have in my consciousness. So, we often say, I'm not praying to something outside of me. I'm praying from an awareness that I'm already one with it. I don't petition for good. if it's outside of me. I align with my good. It's my natural vibration of who I am. Um, the oak tree doesn't strain to produce acorns. The avocado tree doesn't strain to produce avocados. It's just producing out of its fullness. It's just producing because it's tapped into the stream. So when I truly accept that I am, therefore I deserve, I often do more, contribute more, accomplish more because it's effortless, it's joyful, it's sustainable, it's, you know, not fueled by fear or less than. So, how does the brain conform to this worthiness? The brain is constantly creating new neural pathways, right? Each time we allow ourselves to receive without justification, we're creating a new neural pathway. And receiving help from a friend or an unexpected opportunity, it's teaching our brain that this is normal, this is safe, this is natural. And over time, these repeated experiences, replace the old I must earn to deserve, I must earn it, replaces it with I am, therefore I deserve. And the brain is amazing and it has this gatekeeper, right? It's a filter, the reticular activating system. And when you live in a belief that you're unworthy, the reticular activating system filters, things to prove you're right. It looks at overlooked opportunities, criticism, scarcity. But when you anchor in your worth, that same system starts noticing resources, synchronicities, and openings that you never saw before. In other words, just like we've been saying, you create your reality with your eyes. You see what you believe. Science affirms the spiritual principle that has always been taught, that your inner state determines how you perceive, as within, so without. So I also want to distinguish deservedness from entitlement. There's an important clarification, because sometimes people feel if I say I deserve, it's like being entitled. But here's the difference. Deservedness is rooted in connection and gratitude, in a sense of being in flow. I receive good and I'm also a conduit for good. There's respect in it, because your worth doesn't make you more or less than anyone else. It makes you aware of the incomparability of yourself and everybody else. Entitlement's a little different. Entitlement's rooted in separation and scarcity. It says I deserve because I'm better, I'm special, or I'll take it without giving. It looks to hoard, and to grasp rather than participating in circulation of good. So like one is a flow state and one is a blockage. One is like the river that receives from the spring, and the other is like a dam that stops the flow, causing stagnation. And so the practice here is to keep receiving and opening and be generous so that the good can come to you and ripple out from you to the world. So, anything else that wants to come through? I think this is it, like this idea that I am, therefore I deserve. It's a little play on Descartes', I think, therefore I am. Actually, Achille Beckwith, Reverend Michael's brother, told me one time, Descartes had it wrong. It's not I think, therefore I am. It's I am, therefore I think. Consciousness precedes form. And here we're saying, I am, therefore I deserve. By right of consciousness, I deserve everything that I can hold in my awareness. Everything, every possibility, every potentiality that I can hold in my consciousness, I deserve to have it. And, this is something we can say to ourselves repeatedly this week. I am, therefore I deserve. I am, therefore I deserve. I deserve because I am. I deserve to be fulfilled. I deserve to be supported. I deserve to give and receive. I am, therefore I deserve. And just visualize this energy flowing down from the crown right through you, just bathing you in this energy of you are worthy. You were worthy the moment before the moment you took your first breath. I was worthy. I am worthy. You are worthy. not from what we're doing or proving, but from the fullness of our worthiness, then I get to express out into the world that which I want to express, not to get anything, not to get security, not to get safety, not to get recognition, not to get money, not to get, but to give, to share, because I'm already full to overflowing. This is kind of what I wanted to share with you guys today. So, by right of consciousness, I accept all the good. All the good. I'm a living invitation for more good than I could ever imagine. And I am. Therefore, I deserve. So great to connect with you all today. Our next series, we're still in the series of sovereignty. So we'll have another talk next week on the sovereignty series. If you missed the previous series, go back and take a look at the the last Thursdays, and you can catch up on the series arc. So I'm so grateful to see you today. Thank you for joining. Sending you much love and peace and choicest blessings. Bye-bye.